Hey, I hope you've been well. We're here to talk about the fourth law of power from Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power. We're going to get right into it because I hate wasting time. All right, so the fourth law of power is always say less than necessary. I'll say it again because it's sort of a weird one. Always say less than necessary. And when I hear that, what I hear is withhold information always. Why? Because the act of withholding information, evidence, facts is an act of denial. And I kind of feel like that's what this law is alluding to. Don't give them all the information that they actually need to make a decision. Play it close to the chest, right? I feel like some of y'all have definitely heard that. Your mama, your daddy maybe told you to embody that in certain situations. And I don't even think the law inherently is like nefarious or evil or trifling. Not really, but I think when we're talking about power, we're usually talking about power over. But there's actually different forms of power. So that's what I plan on explaining a little bit more with this law. So if we're talking about an act of denial, right, by withholding information, evidence, or facts, that means that someone has entered into a dynamic with an expectation that they will have all of the information, all the data, all the facts, blah, 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 right? And that they'll be able to make an informed decision from that point on. But if you eliminate that option, right, deny it, then what that other person has to work with, what they're going off of, isn't even the complete picture. So that means that their ability to come to the correct, true, right conclusion is thwarted, limited, all right? And to me, that's not fair. So if we're seeking dynamics of equality or equity, it's like a taboo word right now, isn't it? But I'm gonna say it, equity. Then this law of power just wouldn't work because it eliminates the possibility for that to happen. The withholder would, in essence, be leveraging absence of information to their benefit, creating what I like to call a knowledge gap within a specific context. And again, right, that sounds pretty academic. My bad, right? Let's break it down. Basically, if you don't give me all the facts, then I can't really come to the right conclusion, which means I'm going to look like a dumbass, even though like you actually made it so that I was going to look like a dumbass by not helping me get the information that I need. How dare you? See, so not a great way to move about life. So let's talk about how this law of power has been used in history because, white men been doing this for decades, okay? So one of the examples that are brought up during Robert Greene's explanation of this law is about King Louis the 14th. Y'all know about him. He got the guillotine, okay? I'm only laughing because that's like a really dark way to go out. But I think it tracks, right? Because he was leveraging this law of power and people were not about it. Because one thing that King Louis the 14th would always do was keep it close to the vest, right? So one phrase that he literally would say in his court was, "I shall see." So someone will come up to him and they're trying to get his favor or they're trying to better understand his thoughts on something. He would usually just say, "I shall see." Which obviously leaves people like, huh? See about what? Like, what am I missing here? Can you share a little bit more so that I can get closer to what you want? Or I can just get the fuck up out of here since you don't want this thing. But it left a lot of ambiguity. And ambiguity can cause, it can be really bad for your nervous system. But, it was their job to understand this person who was unwilling to be forthcoming. And so this was an example of King Louis the 14th operating with the power over mentality I'm going to not say anything. I'm going to have people come to me begging, pleading, bringing me the best of the best. And I'm just going to say, I shall see. And give them nothing else. And to me, that's the reason why everybody turned on him. Why? Because he didn't actually foster any means of connection. Nobody knew him. Nobody understood him. And he did that because he felt like it was to his advantage. And let's get real, he had a long reign, so perhaps it was for a while. But to go out with the guillotine, whoa, you had to make some people really mad. And that's exactly what he did, because he developed no connections. There was no trust. He actually created a legacy of fear. And so the result of the power over mentality will invariably lead to disconnection. And in disconnection, you might just get the guillotine. Okay. I mean, in our like interpersonal relationship, that ain't gonna happen, but like you're really not going to have the healthy, happy relationships that actually are life affirming, life giving, that make life worth living, right? You're not getting that when you hold power over people. There was another example that was shared, and I was like, yeah, this guy really did it wrong, right? He transgressed the law. That's the way that they explain it. And again, the law is, let's say it, always say less than necessary. So homeboy did the opposite, right? He talked too damn much. And it's interesting because this man, he was a Roman warrior. Think super sexy. Think Arnold Schwarzenegger, actually. Why? Because Arnold had that body, and like he really was in the military for a bit. He was in the military in Austria. He did his thing, and then he became a bodybuilder. And then he was like, actually, I want to do movies. So then he became the Terminator. And then he was like, actually, I want to go into politics. And then he became governor of California. That's sick. But this guy, the Roman guy, his name is Cornelius. That didn't happen for him. Why? Because Cornelius didn't know how to act, right? Cornelius was a man of valor. That means he was like incredibly brave, like hella courageous, had the most kills. Like, I don't really know much about war. It's not my thing, but like he was doing the damn thing on the war front. And so he was like, I want to go into politics, right? I want to transfer these skills since I am brave, since I am courageous, since I am a leader. Let's just like go into politics real quick. He thought it was going to be a hop, skip, and a jump to a win, and that's not how it went. Because when he was on his campaign trail, he had this really ugly habit of talking too much about himself, right? I'm the best, and I've done this, and blah, blah, blah. Very braggadocious, very me, look at me, I'm the best. Which for some people, they eat that up, especially in politics. Sometimes that can work. Where he really went wrong, though, was when he started talking shit about the citizens that he wanted to elect him, right? Like insinuating that they're cowards because they couldn't do what he did out on the battlefield, and that like they weren't as smart as him, and that they were sort of useless, and like a litany of insults. And some people were like, actually, I was down for you until you called me stupid. I was down for you until you said I was worthless. I was down for you until you said too much. Because even if that's how he truly felt, which, ew, I don't know why he thinks that of people, but like, even if that's how he truly felt, there was really no reason to say it. What is the upside? Who was his campaign manager? I don't know. They should have been fired. But they weren't. They kept their job and he lost. But he didn't just lose. Why? Because again, when we talk about fostering connections, he was doing the opposite. He was breaking connections left and right. People were rooting for him, woo woo, when he like wasn't around, when he was like in Iraq doing his thing. When he got back home and started yapping, they were like, whoa, who is he? I don't even know that man, right? Let me take my vote back. And they exiled him. So not only did he not win his campaign that he thought he was a shoo-in to win, and he was exiled from his motherland. That's like getting the guillotine, but in a different way. Okay? So I'm telling you right now, when you lord power over people, try and make them feel small. Don't give them enough information in order for them to come to the right conclusion. It doesn't play out that well. Now, there is a way in order to use this law of power effectively. And we have to turn to a woman, right? Because we know how to act. We know how to like be normal humans. And the woman that really comes to mind, close to my heart, I don't know her like that, but like I wish I did. Her name is Michelle Obama. Have you heard of her? I hope you have. If you're an American, I hope you have. Okay? She was the best. But that's just my personal opinion, right? She had this phrase, when they go low, we go high. And that was sort of like the chant. Like, we can do the si se puede type of energy. Like, yes, we can. When they go low, we go high. She had everybody, moms, dads, little girls, little boys, like the whole lot saying this phrase. And it's very succinct, right? So sometimes you really don't have to say that much in order to get to the heart of the matter. And that's what Michelle Obama was really good at. I think another thing that she's incredibly good at, and that wasn't maybe talked about enough, was that she was reserved. And yet her reservation still brought some warmth to the table, right? She seemed like a human who just sort of like kept herself. And she was incredibly direct, and yet she was measured. So I feel like she would give you enough information in order for you to feel like you have the ability to speak, to interact, to connect. And yet, she's like one of the most powerful people in the world. Like, it's amazing how she was able to connect with people, even though she could have went power over. I mean, her resume alone is kind of intimidating to most people. But whenever she was in conversation with people, and you got to look at some of the interviews she be doing, it's like people are leaning in. They're like, oh my God, like I am so invested in this conversation. I feel seen, heard, and understood. And that's a gift. And Michelle didn't ever really make it about herself, even though she could have talked up and down about herself, because that's what her resume's like. That's what her life is like, right? How many people are first ladies, first women, whatever, of the United States of America? Not that many. And then like how many are Black? Oh, only one so far. So she really had a lot to say, and she could have said it. But at every opportunity, rather than power over, she did the power to, right? She would give you power to speak, you power to ask questions, because she always maintained a level of sincerity and like genuine curiosity about people. She never assumed she knew you. She doesn't assume that she knows people, right? She sort of like creates space for others to step into their own power. That's power too, rather than power over. So let's let this one go, okay? That masculine tendency to dominate. It's annoying, right? The time has passed for that. I think we need something else. We need more of that Michelle Obama energy, where me in all of my glory, in all of my power, can somehow still create space for you to step into your power. So practice that moving forward, all right? Any opportunity you have, meet it with curiosity rather than assuming you know the thing. Rather than hogging the mic, pass it. There's a lot of benefit in that. And one key benefit is that it will aid in connection and community. Because as we say, community is wealth. Stay tuned for the 5th law of power coming up soon. Take care.